we knew he was capable of outside of the UFC, but let's face it, jumping up to the UFC is a whole different monster. Fight's going. Ben gets rocked. What do you? I guess let's just kind of break this down bit by bit. What are you thinking at that moment when he kind of rocks Ben Askren and Ben Askren is surviving on the ground? What are you thinking is happening right now?
In my mind, I thought it was like the next strike is going to be it. The next strike, they're going to call it. And there's people that are arguing that there was, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback it. You could play everything in slow motion. And there are people that argue that Askren was out briefly. But even if that's the case, he recovered so fast. Obviously, he was able to get up, turn it around. But I thought when he went down and Lawler was laying that ground and pound, in my mind, it was just a matter of time.
You made a good point because a lot of people, again, the Monday morning quarterbackers, right? It's easy to, in retrospect, judge a fight and ref a fight in retrospect.
Right. When you could play it frame by frame, slow motion.
Yeah. It's easy to do. I could do it in retrospect. But in the heat of the moment, right, a lot of people are saying, he was knocked out. But you know what? Maybe he got knocked out and then he got brought right back to life, and he kept defending himself. He kept moving around. And a lot of people are saying that, that part alone, the fight should have been stopped.
I don't know, man. If he was actively working,
right?
Because what's the rule? As long as you're intelligently defending yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys that could just they can take shots and we talked about this earlier today when we were just kind of BSing. Even if he was out, it was so fast, I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
And in my mind, what did you see? He was moving, he was trying to change positions, he was trying to get out, and he ultimately did. So, if he was knocked out or not, I always like good reffing and good fights. I think it was a good call, because if he was out, maybe the ref missed that split second too, like walking around the guys to see this angle or that angle. So I don't think that part of it was bad. Like, I could play the fight back and be like, look, his eyes closed for a second in slow motion.
Yeah.
So I think that part was good. But I also think the stoppage was a hair early.
Maybe he got knocked out for a split second, got right back up, like you said, and then he was defending himself and really started to, wrestle and clinch with Robbie Lawler right after that. So even if he was, I feel like the argument that people make, even if he was knocked out for a second, is irrelevant.
It is irrelevant
because it was split second, because even if that next punch woke him up, he still got back up. He was working. It didn't matter. He took a lot of damage, but he fought through it, and it was what it was. So
right.
I think that argument is kind of null and void. So on to the part where only just a few seconds later, he's got him in the bulldog choke, and he's got it locked in real tight, but it's across the jawline. Okay.
So it's more like a neck crank at that point.
Mm-hmm. It was more like a neck crank at that point. It wasn't a choke. But, and this is the part where a lot of people are like, it wasn't a choke, he couldn't have passed out. But a lot of people who have made reference to this, okay, Joe Rogan and Brendan Schaub were talking about it.
Ben, I think he put it on his Twitter or his Instagram page, where you see Robbie Lawler's arm go limp. Dude, it goes limp. Now, here's the question. Did it go limp because he just let it go? Because he was trying to, just let it go. Because he's trying to,
that's a weird move.
Hang on. Because the choke, he was he's squeezing really hard. He's going to tire his arms out. That's what Robbie said. It wasn't under his chin, though. But here's the thing. And people need to stop saying that you have to be under the chin to choke a guy unconscious.
No, you can do both.
You can choke a guy unconscious across his face.
For sure.
You can go across the face, right like this. And if you have a real squeeze, you have like a Marcelo Garcia squeeze, you could put a guy to sleep.
Think how strong Ben is, too.
Ben has a real squeeze. Phenomenal squeeze.
Yeah, he's strong as fuck.
And he's in this position. With that bulldog, you can get a lot of leverage in that position. I mean, I don't know how he's gripping his hands.
You know how much more torque you can get with his
amazing
whole body?
Torque. So I don't know if he went out and then Ben let him go a little bit and he popped right back awake. That's what he's saying.
Your natural movement, though, if you're fighting a choke, your natural movement
is to hold on to it.
Is not to go limp.
That's true.
That's where I'm like, all right, maybe he was out.
How many times have you seen that video where he's taking the watermelons
I saw it today, actually.
And he busts him like that. I mean, think about it. That's essentially what he was doing with Robbie Lawler's head, right?
Right.
So if you think about that kind of pressure across your jawline, I think it's completely possible that he could have gone out. It was so much pain. He could have gone out again. Same argument. It could have been for a second. Maybe it was just for a second. Maybe he wasn't like out, unconscious, but maybe it was like a boom, and maybe he got. I don't know. I wasn't there.
My assessment was, do I think it was early? Yes. Do I think it was going to change anything? No.
I've seen the picture of the thumbs up.
Yes.
When you were looking at the shot real time, the part that everybody's talking about, the thumbs up, the viewers at home watching the pay-per-view, you didn't see any thumbs up. Now, someone took a picture from, it was like a side, from outside the cage, like a side shot, and you kind of see, his thumbs kind of like this. I think it was more of his hand just kind of being open, and it looks like a thumb, versus it being, it didn't look like this to me. It looked like somebody kind of like this, and it almost looks like a thumbs up from a certain point of view, but It's just like an open hand. You know what I mean? But that's
he says it was. Who are we to argue it? But again, I think it might have been early, but I'm not overly, and I'm a Lawler fan.
So am I.
I don't know if it would have made a difference. The outcome quite possibly would have been the same.
Yeah.
But I think he had a little bit, I don't know. We'll never know.
You're right. We will never know. We will never know. It's unfortunate because I'm a huge Robbie Lawler fan, and then of course my bias towards wrestlers. So I also I love the idea of Ben Askren coming to the UFC, and I was foaming at the mouth for this fight. I wanted to see this fight probably more
like actual foam or
actual foam,
not imaginary foam,
like Alka-Seltzer foam.
Nice,
out the mouth. Probably more so, or at least just as much as the main event. That's how much I wanted to see this fight. So it's unfortunate the way it ended. I want a second one. Ben said he doesn't want to do it. Dana wants to do it. Robbie wants to do it. Ben said he didn't want to fight Robbie in the first place because he really likes Robbie and he didn't really want to do the fight, but he did it. A lot of people are like, "Oh, he's fucking scared." I don't know. It's hard for me to say a professional fighter is scared of another professional fighter.
I think he knows, like you said, he took a fight that was not a favorable fight for him.
Yeah.
And he took it and got through it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's scared, but the business mind is like, all right, I already did it. There's really not a reason for me to do it again.
Yeah. And I get that, right? I understand that. Maybe it's not favorable. Maybe a lot of people. Obviously, I want to see the rematch, but I get where he's coming from. I don't think it's, like you said, it's not from a matter of fear. Maybe it is from a matter of business. Maybe he's like, that was a tough fucking fight. I don't want to fuck with Robbie again.
Right. And I was rocked for a second. I don't want to do that again.
I don't think it's a bad thing if you looked at it from a business standpoint. But look, no. I got through the fight. I don't want to test that again. I don't want to lose my O on Robbie Lawler. If I'm going to lose my O, I want it to be against like Habib, know, or something of, not to say Robbie isn't worthy of that, but
he sure is.
He is, but I would want to do it something maybe a little more high profile if I'm going to lose that O, and I think maybe that's what his mindset is. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
I think it's just a business move. Like, all right, I got through. It was not a favorable fight for me, but this is what I got. And why test the water again?